recovery. We're glad you're here with us. We have some new folks with us tonight, and probably we'll have some more show up later. Send out a bunch of requests, but anyway, we're glad that you're here with us. And Zach is our MC, and I'm going to turn it over to him. So here you go, Zach.
All right. Glad everybody's here. And thanks for joining us tonight. Hey, Bobby. And so out there in YouTube and Facebook land, we're glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. And welcome to Saturday Night Live. And we're going to jump right into it tonight. And we're going to start with reading the 12 steps. And so we are going to turn it over to Kate to read the 12 steps for us. Please welcome Kate.
All right. Step 1. We admitted that we were powerless over our problems and that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3. We made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. Step 4. We made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5. We admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6. We were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Step 7. We humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. Step 8. We made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9. We made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10. We continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry it out. In step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs. All right.
Well, thank you, Catherine. She reads extremely fast.
But she
So
still has to give you a smile.
thank you for that, Kate. And so we are going to we're going to do the step now. And we're going to welcome Debbie for that. She's going to do step 10 for us. Please welcome Debbie.
Thank you, Zach. I chose dealing with anger, which is a step. In step 10, we continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admit it. Many of us have a hard time dealing with anger. Some of us have a history of rage. Just a little bit now. So we try to stifle our feelings. Others of us stuff down that feeling of anger and pretend that it doesn't exist because we were never allowed to express them. In the past, if some of our problems stem from not knowing how to express anger properly, we may try to avoid dealing with it altogether. We may try to put it off and hope it goes away. Evaluating how to deal with anger appropriately is a important part of our daily inventory. The Apostle Paul said, "Don't sin by letting anger control you. Don't let the sun go down while you are still angry, for anger gives a foothold to the devil." And that's Ephesians 4:26 and 27. One key is to have daily time limits for handling our anger. Time to find ways to express the feelings and then let them go. Dealing with anger properly is important because when it is left to fester, it becomes bitterness. Bitterness is anger and has been buried and given time to grow. The Bible warns us, get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, harsh words, and slander, as well as all types of evil behavior. Instead, be kind to each other and tender-hearted, forgiving one another, just as God, through Christ, has forgiven us. And that's Ephesians 4:31 and 32. Alcohol Anonymous teaches that we should never allow ourselves to become too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. We can help accomplish this by properly dealing with our anger when it occurs. And I know anger is one of the hardest things that I deal with. At first, I had to even admit that I did have anger because, oh, no, I'm not mad, and just keep stuffing it down all the time. But there was a lot of things I was angry about, but I'm getting better at recognizing my anger when it happens and being able to let it go um, as soon as I can. So I think my light just gave out, but uh, I'm a lot better at recognizing my anger as soon as it comes up, and don't have to get into a too big of a rage anyway before I admit it, and is able to say, either say a little prayer or just breathe sometimes. Just breathing will do amazing things. Um, just taking a deep breath and realizing that we are in an angry mood. So really, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie. That was really good. And I think we just had Paul come on. Wanted to welcome Paul. Good to
Woo!
good to see you there, buddy.
Hi,
And
Paul.
glad you're joining us tonight. And thank you, Debbie. That was really good. And we're going to move on to reflection, and that happens to be me. So I'm going to be doing reflection next. So um, I'll read the step.
Hey, Zach, I want to interrupt just for a second, and if you don't mind, I want to say that our topic tonight is a extremely important topic. It's also very complicated, and even more than that, it's complex. But but at the same time, we're trying just to touch it the best we can, and we'll be talking about it, and you're going to reflect on here in a moment. But for those that are out there watching, um, you know, it is, like I said, complex. So you just can't hit it with a hammer and make it go away. You need to do it. Need to be reasonably look at it, and then we'll be talking more about it, and I'll be talking more about it here in a little bit. But I just want to say that this is a serious topic, a serious subject, and it messes with almost everybody. So I just wanted to throw that in there, and we'll take it back to you now, Zach.
All right. I'm going to read the step again because I like to do that here. So, step 10, we continue to take a personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And the section that Debbie picked this week is um, dealing with anger. And, I read through the questions here, and we always try to read the questions, and I'm trying to juggle two things here, sorry. And they're really good questions, and I could talk for a really long time on anger. It's something that I've dealt with a lot in my life, and but I'll read a question here, and then I'll just kind of talk for a minute, I guess. So question 3 here is, when I am angry, can I promptly admit it? Why or why not? And I don't know that anybody can, when they're angry, they can promptly admit that they're angry. We've all seen that funny let me turn that down for me. That funny the we see the funny things on TV all the time where somebody's yelling that they're not angry, but they're yelling that they're not angry, and um, I think that sometimes our emotions get the best of us, and it takes us a minute for us to catch up to them, and um, you know, um, anger. I was talking with somebody this week that was dealing with anger, and something that I used for a long time in my own life, and I still use it. Is that I don't one of the things I practice is I try not to make any decisions in extreme emotion. And that can be any extreme emotion, but for a lot of the time for me that's anger. So I try not to make any decision in extreme anger, and you could put anything in there you want to, extreme sadness or any kind of extreme emotion. But I know when I developed that tool, it was to help me with anger, and um, and because sometimes anger is one of those things that can kind of pick you up and carry you off if you're not careful, and um, it's I think a lot of times when we can't do anything else about something, we can at least be mad about it, and that makes us feel like we've done something, you know, and you know sometimes people get we anger gets a bad name. you know Anger is, you can, if you're not careful, you can go, anger is all bad, and the truth is that God made anger or it wouldn't exist. you know so anger has its place, and and it's just, anger out of balance is an unhealthy thing, and uh, anger out of place is dangerous. And so, in the teaching, it says, don't go to bed angry, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. Um, that's something that is good to practice if you can. Um, that's not something I'm very good at. Um, I'll just be honest. Um, I've tried that, and I feel like I'm kind of BSing my way through it. You know, um, because I may not want to be mad, but I'm still mad. You know, and I think one of a healthy tool to diffuse anger is giving yourself uh, a minute. And some people call themselves timeouts, but we get to be adults. We don't like that. We don't like that. It sounds too immature. But the truth is taking a walk, taking a 10-minute walk, going off by yourself for a time. Um, giving you a chance to breathe and think. Uh, it's can diffuse anger. You know, Sometimes we use anger to um, keep people away from us. you know. But all that does is isolate us and leave us alone, and that's not healthy either, you know. And so, um, you know, I guess one thing that I do with folks is that when someone's angry, I ask them if they know why they're mad, you know. And you know, people usually have a pretty good reason to be mad, you know, and so a reason to be angry. And so, you know, life isn't easy and things happen to us, and so we have, you know, so it's acknowledging the things that we go through, and um, not being harsh with ourselves, uh, because, you know, life's happened to us, you know. So, you know, the inventory, when the inventory comes into the anger thing, that's kind of one of my cues. If I'm angry about something, then you know, and I'm not saying I catch it right off, because I don't. But you know, if I'm in extreme emotion, that's one of my cues to do my inventory. And so it's like, okay, well, why am I mad? What happened? You know, do I have a reason to be angry? Am I angry for no reason? You know, am I just having an attitude today? You know, so extreme emotion is one of my cues for me when I do catch it, that I need to take an inventory and check in with myself and see where things are at. And then usually that's followed by some kind of self-care in some way. You know, if I'm in an environment or I'm around people that are bothering me, they just keep pushing my buttons, and I need to remove myself from that environment or those people. You know, if I'm in, you know, if I'm you know, so any and so you can just insert the proper self-care there, you know, whatever you need to do. That's just some examples. So you know, sometimes you're like, you know, this week I was just really tired, you know, and so um one day I knew that I was short in my responses. And so it wasn't because I was really upset with anybody, but I did an inventory with myself. I checked in and I said, well, I just need to be really careful what I say. And so I was pretty quiet all day, you know, and I went to bed early, you know, or I tried to. And I've tried this weekend, I've tried to rest, or I intended to. It didn't work out that well today, but it was my intention to rest and to try to get caught up on some sleep. And um, so, you know, um, but that's kind of the process with this inventory, is that, you know, if you're checking in with yourself and doing an inventory, whether that be weekly or daily or multiple times a day, like I do it, is, you know, these cues. And for me, extreme emotion is one of those cues that I need to check in with myself. And then if I find something out of balance, I need to correct it. And usually that's by some form of self-care. So that's what I got for that. And so without further ado, I think we're ready for Doug time. So please welcome Doug.
I'm going. Bye, guys.
Okay. I was muted there. We had some technical issues, as we sometimes do, but I think we got it worked out. And I just want to say to some folks that are on my Facebook, my wife Linda's on there. Hi, Linda. And Fred, Jordan. Hi, Fred. And Stuart and David and Marlene. And so anyway, we'll just say hi to everybody. There was some others on there too, I think. But anyway, that's on my personal Facebook line. So anyway, and we have others that are watching in different places. And anyway, we're glad that you tuned in. Thank you for sharing your time with us. So I tried to listen as I was doing these other things. I had people texting me and telling me about the problems, and hopefully I got it fixed. So one person, oh, actually it was Elsie. Elsie had sent me a message, and so I appreciate Elsie sending me a message and checking in, and Whitney sent me a message, and she just now texted me and said it's all good. So anyway, I gotta stop focusing on my phone and stay focused here. But I appreciate everybody's help. And thank you, Zach, for your reflection. And I know Debbie, she had to jump off there, and Paul's still here. I hope things are going well there with you, Paul. They had folks asking about you a while ago, and I said, well, knowing Paul, he might show up here tonight. So we're glad that you're on there. So don't see you, but that's okay. Whatever's good for you. We're glad you're here. And of course, John's here, and Bobby is a new timer for us. He has shown up sometimes after the meeting when we were, and sometimes he showed up before the meeting in the times past. So today he's here with us in the meeting. Bobby, do you want to say anything while before I get started?
Welcome everybody. Hi. I'm just listening, and I'll say my piece after everything is done.
Okay, John, you have anything you'd like to say?
Not really. Just I'm glad I can still catch the meeting on Zoom, but I'm sure it'll be a good meeting.
All right. Lisa, do you have anything you'd like to say?
She's having difficulty, so she's working on it.
Okay, well, she knows how to interrupt me, so you know. But Kate, you're back with us, Kate. Do you have anything you'd like to say, Kate? You're on mute. No, you don't have anything you'd like to say?
No, I said hello.
Oh, hello. I'm sorry. Sometimes when I'm working all the buttons and stuff, my hearing goes when my focus is on other stuff. So
That's okay.
well, and anybody else? Zach, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, I think I said enough.
Okay, all right. Well, then, whenever Lisa, well, I'm sure I'm going to ask some questions here in a minute, and Lisa can get her say in then. How about that? Is that all right? And of course, Paul, anytime if you want to say anything, let us know. We'd love to hear from you too. So we're talking about the topic, as Debbie pointed out, is dealing with anger. I entitled tonight as how are you doing with dealing with your anger? Okay, and I think that's a pretty good question. And if you ask yourself that question, you'll begin to find out what's going on. And if you don't know, ask somebody how you're doing with dealing with the anger, and they'll probably tell you, right? They'll probably let you know how you're doing if you really, really want to know. But of course, you have to be reasonably secure with yourself to be able to do that. But so the step that
Doug, I have found in the past that when I ask people how I'm doing with my anger, they're usually too scared to talk to me, so I don't really get good answers. So I figure if you're scaring the villagers, you're probably not doing good with your anger. So at least that's my experience.
I'm going to bite my lip, okay? Maybe I should have bit my lip before I said that, but anyway. So, by the way, that was Lisa. To those, your picture won't come up on the screen or anything, or at least I can't give you the spotlight. So, So anyway, I'm going to start off with, I'm going to read the step again, just for our focusing, and then I have a statement or a quote that I want to share with you, and that is step 10. We continue to take personal responsibility, and when we were wrong, promptly admitting it. And that's really a big step for us to get around, because in the beginning we don't really want to admit that we're angry, and I think Debbie mentioned that, and I think all of us, if we were honest, we'd say that, you know, we like to deny our angry, and if we haven't gotten well enough to be willing to deny our angry, we may have been proud about our anger. So how do you like that statement? And so here's actually this has been designated that the Buddha said this. He says, you will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger. What do you think about that? I'll read it again. You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger. Have you ever thought about your anger punishing you?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. You have told me that a lot, Doug.
Well, okay. I don't know exactly how to respond to that, but okay, thank you, I guess. So here we are in life recovery, and we're trying to deal with life recovery, and we're trying to deal with stuff that's inside of us. You know, if oftentimes when we need to fix something on the inside of us, oftentimes we look on the outside of ourselves to try to fix it. I got a question for you. If the problem's on the inside, why do we look on the outside? Any thoughts?
Because I don't want to deal with me. I want to deal with something on the outside of me.
Okay. Yes. Yes. So what we have to do is we have to. Oh, there you are, Zach. I was trying to find you there. Did you have anything else you wanted to say, Zach?
I was just saying that I was being mouthy, but it's true that we don't want to deal with. It's easier to deal with the stuff on the outside than it is to deal with the stuff on the inside.
Yes.
You know, that's recovery. I mean, you know, the substances are easier than the stuff on the inside as to why we use the substances. You know,
Correct.
and so we're always looking for something on the outside, because that's the stuff on the inside is the scariest stuff. And I mean, it's doable, and we think that it's going to be way worse than what it really is. I mean, we got this thing built up into like this monster, you know, and we're afraid of it, and it's not really that way, but we believe it is. But we always want to deal with something on the outside more than we want to deal with something on the inside. That's everybody.
That's true. Absolutely. Dr. Wayne Dyer tells a story about losing his car keys outside in the dark, and he couldn't find them in the dark, so he went down to the corner where there was a street light and was looking for his car keys down there. Somebody come along and said, "Hey, I'll help you." And he said, "That'll be great." And the person said, "Where did you lose your car keys?" He said, "Well, down there in the dark, but I didn't want to try to find them in the dark. I came down here where it's light. There's no sense in looking around in the dark." So what that means is oftentimes we for some reason choose places to try to deal with our own problems in other ways. In other words, if I'm mad at somebody else, I'll act it out on this other person. Or if I need to apologize to somebody, I might be nice to somebody else but I won't go ahead and deal with the real problem. I will try to fix something someplace else that's on the outside. And why look on the outside when the real problem is on the inside? So that's the point of the story. Let's go where the problem is. And if your problem is anger, remember that the problem of anger is a behavior that is a result of something else, okay? And we'll talk about that in a minute, but I think I'll go ahead and hit it now so I won't forget it later. When our boundaries have been encroached, when they've been crossed, your boundary lines have been crossed, it is a normal, healthy thing to have some healthy anger. There's nothing wrong with that. And but the problem is how we deal with it. Some people won't do anything. They'll just swallow it, stuff it, like Zach, I think I heard Zach mention. And other people will you know, because they're so loaded up by already maybe swallowing anger, that it triggers them and they explode. And so, but what we have to do is we need to go ahead and start offloading this stuff on the inside so that we can heal. In fact, I've been talking about this on my Thursday talk that I have, an encouraging word with Doug that I do on Thursdays on Facebook, YouTube. And so anyway, last couple of weeks have been entitled The Hurt Pocket, which is right in the line of what we're talking about. But so what we need to do is we need to deal with this stuff on the inside. And many times we have this hurt that we haven't taken time to deal with. And because we didn't feel like we had enough strength or we didn't have enough opportunity. And so I had some other things, and I think primarily Zach and Debbie had touched most of those in the step information and the reflection. One question that was asked in our book that I don't think I heard anybody ask, which is it's question number 1 in our life recovery workbook. It's about dealing with anger. It says, what is my response when I'm angry? Did you ask that one, Zach? No? Okay. I didn't think I heard it, but I was busy doing other stuff. So what is my response when dealing with anger? It has three parts here. Lashing out, stuffing, avoiding, and covering up. Those were the 3 possibilities they give. So what's your response when you're angry? Which one of those 3 that you may use? I'd like for you to think about that for a minute. Those that are with us here and those that are in internet land. What is your response? Do you lash out? Do you stuff down? Do you avoid or cover up? And you know what? I've been thinking about this for a couple of days. That question right there. It's a challenging question, because it's a good indicator of what's going on in your life. Any brave souls that like to respond to how you respond when you're angry? No brave souls, I guess.
I mean, I used to, I think it depends on the situation, you know, and, you know, but I used to just lash out. I mean, that was my go-to. I would just lash out. You know, I'm a healthier person now, you know, but I think it depends on the situation and, you know, how you're feeling, you know, like, you know, you're not going to react the same way at your job as you would, you know, something else, you know, unless you're out of control, you know. And so, I think it depends on the situation. You know, not that any of those are really healthy.
No,
You know,
yeah, that they're not. They're that was some of my trouble, and I thought, well, and actually I did some extra research, and I've got some things I'm going to share. We're not going to cover all of it, but it kind of gave you some different categories to look at to see how things were going, and so, whoa, look out!
Doug,
Yes.
sometimes in my anger, I think that Zach said is true. It depends on the situation, but there are times when I get angry, I shut down. I just completely shut down. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just don't want to be around you. I don't want to be around people. And so I isolate and shut down. And then there are other times when I am, loud, and I'm a justifier. So I want to I want to tell you why I feel the way I feel. And it usually does not ever begin with because I chose to. So, but I am definitely one who likes to explain myself thoroughly and loudly. But I'm getting better at that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Lisa. And I have 10 things that I'm going to share with everybody that actually is from the Mayo's Clinic about appropriate ways to deal with your anger that kind of help. And I have a lot of different information. We'll see what we get through. But I thought that question is really is a challenging question for me. The second one in our workbook here was how was anger dealt with in my family? And sometimes that can be very revealing how our family of orientation, our parents or whoever raised us, how they dealt with anger. And it went on to say, how did your mother deal with anger? How did your father? Which plan do you follow, or are you following, or you have followed? Anyway, those are real good questions, because the trouble is we've been affected by our family of orientation. We're affected by those around us, and because that's all we know, and that doesn't mean that we have to stay that way, but it does mean that we are kind of set by that until we consciously and purposely decide to change it, and that's what recovery is all about. Does that make sense? Okay. So the next question was, when I'm angry, can I promptly admit it? Why and why not? And so for me, I'm seeing that question to say, well, I'm seeing how I'm acting, and then I need to see how quickly I can become aware of my anger so that I can do something about it, because you can't fix something and if you don't know it's there, right? You got to know it's there to be able to deal with it. And so we have to do that. And the next question is talking about, do I have support to help me? Those are questions out of our life recovery workbook. And those are some very good thought questions to help you to work on yourself. And you have to work on it a little bit at a time, okay? And because it's inch by inch sometimes. So, Paul, I saw you trying to get your audio on. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, you lost me for. That's on.
There you
Yeah, I lost you for a little bit. A while ago, I was going to say I've never been angry. Other people have done things that caused me to have a reaction to their stupidity or to the things they've done, but I've never been angry, and it's never been my fault. And that's the way we like to put that, and that's why we won't.
We got to say sarcasm, 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 right?
Yes, that's sarcasm, but I don't want to deal with it, so I'm going to put it on you. It's your fault. I'm not angry, but it's your fault. I'm acting the way that I am, because if you didn't do what you did, I wouldn't act the way that I do. So that's the way we want to sell that, and we don't want to deal with it ourselves.
Oh, hey, Paul, I got a question for you. How's that worked for you?
It's really not worked well before, but it does allow me to put up a wall, and it keeps people away from you. And that way you don't have friends, and you don't have to deal with anybody, but it isolates you so you're out on your own. It's not a very good lifestyle.
That's good. Good stuff,
I
Paul.
just would like to say that all my anger is Paul's fault.
What I do now, Zach?
I know. I love you, brother. It's good to hear you.
Yeah, it is good to hear you.
Good today.
We lost some of your voice there.
Yeah, Brenda tried to call in. I said I didn't put up the picture because I'm not looking good today. I've got more wires hanging out of me than the space shuttle, so. But I feel good.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. We're glad that you made it. And so, sarcasm aside, Paul. So, what is your best recommendation on this topic of anger?
Think and analyze every situation, because it's never as bad as it looks. It's going to change tomorrow, and it makes it a lot easier to deal with if you've got facts and information and not just running on emotions.
It's good. It's good. Well, I have 10 things that I'd like to share here, maybe to help you to gain some tools or some insight. And this is from the Mayo's Clinic. And this is an appropriate way to deal with anger, and maybe some of these can help you. The first one is, and we've already talked about it, and Paul just mentioned it, is think before you speak. Think. Thinking is a really beneficial approach. Engage your thinking before you engage your speaking. And because in the heat of the moment, you can say all kinds of things that you will regret later. Is that not true? That is true, and we all know that to be so. And it's hard. It's when you wound people, or when people have wounded you, it makes things much harder. And besides that, I always like to use the principle, what you do, are you going to like yourself more or less after you do it? And that kind of helps you to gauge yourself in the moment. Am I going to like myself after I do this? And if you say no, I got a suggestion for you. Don't do it. How's that? And if you can do that, that helps you to start making that change inside of yourself, because what you're doing is you're using that third person perspective that we all have if we'll engage it. I learned it as the observer effect, and if you'll allow that part of yourself, which I believe is your spirit, to observe, and you're able to use your consciousness to ask that higher part of yourself that we talked about last week to, am I going to like myself if I do that? And because it knows the truth. Okay, and it will tell you, and then what you have to do is be willing to make the hard choice to steer you in the right and healthy direction. So that was number one. Number two, you need to try to calm yourself down, and that is really hard. But on some other things that I have on here that I probably not going to get to tonight because we're going to run out of time. But let me find them because it's really good. One of the breathing techniques that they were talking about is to, I don't know if I can find it or not. It's to observe yourself, because if you start breathing more rapidly, if you start clenching your fists, if you start feeling your heart rate starting to beat faster, you know that you're starting to you're having physiological responses to your anger, and these signs or signals can give you a clue that you're working up a head of steam, that if you can be aware of them, then you can make a different choice. In fact, I talked about this past Thursday about Viktor Frankl. He said that there is between the from what the thought and the action, there is a space in there that you have a chance to choose. So you can have the thought, you can have the stimulating event, and you can think about it. And that's what we're talking about here, is think about it before you take action. And you'll save yourself much hurt and harm, and others, if you're able to do that. And one of the other things I'm going to throw in here, which is on this second list, is that a lot of people believe that well, I'll just calm down and I'll use substances or alcohol or something to help me calm down. But alcohol will actually because it will cause you to not have the ability to control yourself as well. You get more relaxed and you're not able to gauge yourself, and then you'll just respond to how you're feeling, even though you're trying to maybe calm down. Does that make sense? So we need to take a break, maybe count to 10, maybe breathe to 10 before you express your anger. And when you're expressing your anger, try not, you want to say it in an honest way, but try not to express it in ways of using I statements like, I'm right and you're wrong. Why do you always have to do that? You make me feel bad. Statements kind of like that. You need to shift and to make statements that are not threatening, because if you threaten somebody, we know what's going to happen next, right? People are going to react in a fight flight type response. Number 3, which is really one of my most effective tools, and that's get some exercise. When things are loaded up on me and my head is spinning and I'm having a hard time, if I can go out and get some exercise, and I'm by myself, I'm able to look into the distance, and that resets your mind by just taking some wide angle views and exercise. You're getting all the chemical out of your system, and it's just starting. It helps you to get released, calm down, and then be able to think more clearly. At least that's been very, very, very beneficial for me. And I've talked about that in the past. Number 4, it says take a time out. Okay. Zach already mentioned this, that some adults don't like to call it a timeout, but a timeout, call it whatever you want, but back up. If you're on the job, maybe you just need to, sometimes the only place you can get by yourself is in the restroom. So you might want to go to the restroom, okay? Or some people go to the break room. That's not always because there's others in there that may not positively affect you. So you need to figure out a way to have a timeout. Or if you're in the middle of a disagreement with somebody, I've told couples that sometimes you have the permission to use the timeout sign to just take a break, because if you throw more fuel on the fire is going to burn hotter, right? So what we want to do is not throw fuel on the fire. Back up, and then maybe lower the intensity, and then you're able to bring maybe a little water to the situation to douse some of those flames. Number 5, and Paul just touched this a little bit, identify problems and solutions, okay? If you can think of what's going on, I had a recent situation, and this person really didn't treat me well. They changed the rules on me in the middle of the game, if you know what I mean, and then multiple other things. And I had to back up and say, well, I think I know what's going on in their world. I think, hurting people hurt people. Have you ever heard that statement? And I thought, they're a hurting individual. Their behavior is not correct. But the fact of it is, that's kind of what's going on. And I was able to give myself kind of that space in there to try to let things dissipate. And because I want to behave the way that I would be happy with myself or pleased with myself, because that's important to me, and just as it's important to you. And I'm going to give everybody a chance to comment before I go any further. Anybody want to say anything? Okay. One more comment on that. Sometimes the solutions that you need to find, and this was in some other paperwork that I read, and it says that you just need to ask, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? Why are they doing what they're doing? Kind of like Paul was saying, and just asking that question begins to shift your ability to think, because you start thinking in a different way, and then make a plan. One of the plan is, I can't stand my kid's dirty room. Well, one plan is, well, instead of fighting about it, maybe I'll just choose to keep their door closed. Okay. Because actually, and I tell people all the time, sometimes it depends on what you want to choose. You want things to be the way that you want them to be, or do you want to have a relationship with that individual? Because we can't change people. All right. Reality is, and the Serenity Prayer says, we have to accept things that we cannot change. Okay. And so sometimes we have to choose. I prefer to have the relationship instead of maybe getting that room clean or having them to act the way I want them to act. Doesn't mean that you should allow people to abuse you, but at the same time, depending on the circumstance, like Zach was saying earlier, that we, not everything will work on everything, but these are just some suggestions that can help you. That's the reason why they gave 10, okay, from the Mayo's Clinic. All right, number 6. Well, I've already touched on it a little bit, and try not to use the I statements, that or try to use the I statements, that I feel this way when you do this, and I need some help, along that line. Number 7, don't hold grudges. And that, in my mind, that's a big one for a lot of folks, because when you get hurt, the automatic thing to do is to decide that, well, I won't act out and be mad at them, but I just won't have anything to do with them, or I won't interact with them. I'll withhold my love from them, and that could be a grudge. What do you think? Okay, and so and that I'm just, if we can say I'm just, because one of the main things about grudges is what it does to you. Let's not even look at what it does to other people. What it does to you, it's poisoning you. That's anger. That's resentment. That's deep-rooted poison going through your system. And tonight we're talking about how you handling anger. You know, how are you doing with that? Well, no matter what level you're at on dealing with your anger, recognizing that you want to get better is a big step, and you just have to work on it layer by layer, piece by piece. And any progress is progress. We're not talking about perfection. We're just talking about progress. Number 8, use humor to release the tension. Oftentimes, if you can bring a little humor into frustration, and neuroscience says instead of being in a grimace or being angry or clenched, if you can just change your facial expression, if you can do something different with your body, or even smile, and that's the reason why humor is so important. If you can do those things, it affects you neurologically. It releases different chemicals, and that can give you a break to be able to make things, to create a shift in you. And if you make the change, it affects everything on the outside. Number 8. Oh no, we already said number 8, using humor, because it'll break the tension. 9 is practice relaxation skills. Okay, now these are where sometimes we walk around with just loaded up with anger. We go home with anger, and then we act it out at home. The old saying is, you kick the dog and you yell at the kids, and and you're not so kind to your spouse. And so, and it's not because of them, it's because of all this other stuff. You're emotionally polluted. Can I use that terminology? And sometimes we don't even realize it, but it pushes us around. And if we can do some relaxation, whether it's breathing. I like what Dr. Tal Ben Shahar says. He says, if we could get into a habit of, at every traffic light that we come to and we're stopped at it, that we just take 3 deep breaths and consciously breathe and relax. Let it go. Let it go. And just do that. And if we have these triggers to try to help us, it will dissipate that emotional negative energy that we have inside of us. And other relaxation skills. One relaxation skill is tense up all of the muscles you can in your body and hold it for as long as you can, and then relax it. And that begins to break some of that tension inside of you. You're also depleting some of the chemicals that you have in your system. There are many different relaxation skills. Those are just a couple. We're going to pause here and give everybody a chance to comment if they have anything they'd like to say. Anyone? Bobby?
Yeah, when he was actually talking about his alcohol and the family and all this and the tension, and I kind of have little issue that's actually going on between my family at the moment, and I'm so angry at them because on what happened in the past. And I cannot get over that because they ended up calling the cops on me. They ended up, if I would ever call them again, they would press charges on me. And I'm having a real hard time dealing with that because, of course, now they want to see my baby, and I'm just not allowing them to do that. Um, and I feel like I'm holding this grudge against them, but the cops actually told me never to call them again, never to hang out with them, and they're alcoholics. They're actually in recovery now, but they're getting the help that they need. But I'm just the tension of me having done with that. And it was like a year or so ago when that all happened. And that just was, I just feel like I just can't get over that.
Well, those are some challenging things to deal with, and the question is, anger is there to help us. It's actually a healthy emotion unless we get stuck in it. Okay. Now, because it helps us to reinforce, it gives us energy to 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 take action on in a situation. Now, the big thing that I'd say with you is that my son-in-law is trying to call me for some reason. Hopefully everything's okay. But anyway, it helps you to take action. And if the rest of the story here is, if we've had a problem with somebody until they like that, then until they make a change, until they do something to be better, to demonstrate they're different, then but they call the law on you. So I don't know what all the entire dynamic is, but until the situation is somewhat resolved, you probably you're going to have a hard time letting go of that anger. Now, the rest of the story is, can you have this boundary, a healthy boundary, without inflicting yourself on that anger? And that's kind of what we've been talking about here today.
But yes, it has. Yes.
So what the question is, can you have healthy boundaries and not you have to use self-imposed torture, because that's what it is, emotional punishment on yourself to take healthy action. And so those are some things that you have to look at. And I don't know enough about your situation that I could really comment any further. And I saw Zach moving around. I don't know if he was trying to get my attention, or did you have something you wanted to say, Zach? I'd say
No, not really. I mean, it's, family stuff like that's hard, and you have to, the number one thing is keeping yourself and your family safe, and but at the same time, it's, something Doug said a while back, when he was talking, I think is just really important to this whole thing, but it kind of applies here is so I'm going to say it again. The first and most important thing is keeping yourself and your family is safe, and so that means that if family is not safe, then family is not safe. Okay, so there's family that I don't uh, spend time with because they're not healthy for me to do so. So that's the that's the fine print there.
The big key.
But but the but what Doug said, I want to bring back in the thing here is, who do you want to be? And and he said, you know, am I going to like myself after I do this? You know, and that's something that, you know, I use all the time as well. Is that, you know, if I make this decision, if I follow through with what I'm wanting to do right now, am I going to like myself, you know, the next 5 minutes? Am I going to like myself tomorrow? You know, who is it that I want to be? What is the best version of myself? You know, who do I want to be? Now, you know, there is a piece of me that would like to be, you know, friends and close with all my family, but not all my family is healthy, and I can't do that. You know, so you know, that's kind of what, you know, you didn't ask me for my advice, but I mean, if there's no safety concerns, you know, and there's no health concerns, and you know, you can work through it. You know, you've been wronged, and you can work through that somehow, and you like yourself better with them in your life. I had a family member, and I don't want to get off track here, but I had a family member that had harmed me greatly, and I had X them out of my life for some time. And I decided at one point that I was going to let them back into my life uh, as much as I wanted them in my life. For me, not them. That sounds selfish, but for me, not them. You know, because, and I was going to set the boundary, and if they didn't like it, then that was kind of tough. You know, because they had wronged.
Looks like we lost Zach there for a moment.
Hear me?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
Zach is back.
Sorry, I was just saying that, you know, I had a family member that had wronged me, you know, terribly. I decided I wanted them back in my life. I set the boundary. If they didn't like that boundary, I said, look, you know, we didn't, you know, it wasn't good. This is what I can do. If you don't like it, then I'm sorry about your luck. And this is what I can do. If that's not okay, then that's all I can do. And so, I mean, you know, I think that we have to get past. I think we can feel like I think that we feel very obligated when people are family, and that sometimes we stay in very abusive situations just because people are family, and we blame that on God sometimes, and God is not in that. You know, and that's something that I don't do. I don't, just because you're family doesn't mean that you know, family should treat people better, not worse. You know, so, you know, it's just, you know, God doesn't put us with people that abuse us. And so um uh he doesn't expect us to stay in those relationships, is what I'm trying to say. So I've talked more than enough. My encouragement is just to follow your heart in that, and don't feel obligated just because they're family, but ask yourself who you want to be. So that's what I'll say.
That's a good one, both of you.
Well, you know, and I think that guideline, thank you, Zach, for bringing that back out.
Yeah.
Because it really, I mean, that helps us stay focused. And that goes to my probably favorite all-time question, you know, what do you want? You know, what do you want in your life? You know, and then figuring out, you know, how to get that. And sometimes we want people in our life that we want them, but then maybe we're not able to do that at this time, or for whatever's going on. But if we know what we want, and that's our real heart, it can, and that we do things that, whatever we do, that it's really that I will like, because I have to live with me after it's all said and done, okay? And if when, and of course, we're all gonna make mistakes, I wanna make mistakes. And sometimes things happen in the moment that you have reactions, and then, hey, then you have to clean it up, okay? We just have to clean things up. And sometimes we may have to give people an opportunity to clean up their stuff too. But we need to do it in a safe way as far as I'm concerned. So, any other comments from anybody else? I think I hit all 10, didn't I? I may have not hit the last one, number 10. Know when you need to seek help, okay? And you need to have somebody that is concerned about you. That's not, their interest is for you. Sometimes when you deal with people, they're more concerned about themselves than they are about you. And so we need to have people that we can connect with, that we know that they're interested in, they're interested in my best interest and not just their own. And so those sometimes are hard to find. I grant you, and sometimes you have to go through people to find them. But the fact of it is, that's part of the learning process. And I want to encourage you to work on being aware about your anger, what triggers you, why, how I can, what solutions that I can make, some self-care issues like relaxation and exercise and those things like that, to help you to work through that. Not one thing will do it for us, but it is a mixture of things. And being connected with healthy people that can give us healthy feedback is very important also, because the truth is, none of us can heal alone. So none of us can heal alone. All right, I'm going to conclude my comments right now, and I want to give everybody a chance to say anything. Bobby, you have any final words you'd like to share in closing?
I'll just be praying for everybody. And I'm just trying to deal with my anger every day. And I think I'm getting better at that every day, because I'm trying to make better and healthier choices for my family.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Bobby, for being with us tonight. Zach, any final words? No?
I'm good. Thank you, though.
All right. Lisa, do you have any final words?
She says no.
All right. Paul, do you have anything you want to say? Any final words?
Yeah, I'm sure it's been mentioned at some point tonight. I've had to step in and out a couple of times, but whoever angers you controls you. And that's a lot of power you give to somebody else when you say, it's not my fault, but somebody else triggered me. And the real fact is, and the moment between the incident and the reaction, there is a real choice that can be made, and you have absolute control of that choice. You can decide not to blow up.
That's absolutely correct. Amen, amen. And for folks that maybe don't know, is it all right if I just say that you're in St. Louis?
Sure.
And that you're in the hospital up there?
Yep.
And and Paul said earlier that he's feeling good, and but he says he's not looking too good, so that's the reason why he's not showing his face. And we'll take whatever we can get from him. So we're glad you're with us tonight, Paul, and we're just believing that you're going to get better. Amen.
Yep, I'm in good hands up here. I'm really stable. Just waiting for a heart to become available, and then I'll be back.
Awesome. Okay, Kate, you have any final words, Kate?
No, sir.
All righty. Well, thanks everybody for being with us tonight. And I just want to say, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may his face look upon you, shine upon you, smile upon you, and give you his peace. I'm going to turn you back over to Zach, and he's going to take us out.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, everybody, and we do appreciate it. And we will be back here next week. And please join us then for Zoom. And we always love to have you. And if you visit our page or on Facebook or YouTube, leave us a comment. Let us know you stopped by. And stay safe out there.